One is programmed to create life, to nurture and to protect it. The other is driven to spread their genes and compete for the favor of the opposite sex. As simple as that may sound, no matter what we observe in cats in everyday life, hunting, affection, play, or territorial behavior, everything follows a genetically encoded pattern. When you see a female and a male cat side by side, there's no big difference, at least not at first glance. Two soft balls of fur, both chasing after balls, both sleeping half the day, and both sometimes terribly hungry, and then suddenly incredibly picky. And yet, over time, you start to notice female cats and male cats behave anything but the same. But these differences don't show up constantly. They appear in many small moments, in the way they hunt, how they see their territory, how they interact with other cats, and even how interested they are in us humans. It's quite fascinating to realize what nature has built into them, and how we can respond to their individuality, and why they still manage to surprise us again and again. Many cat lovers are surprised by the differences in hunting behavior as well. It's often said that female cats, breeders call them queens, are the better hunters. And in fact, that makes perfect sense. In nature, they bear the responsibility not only for themselves, but eventually for feeding their offspring as well. A strong hunting drive is absolutely essential for survival. Male cats hunt too, of course, but not with the same urgency. Their survival depends on food, yes, but not the survival of their kittens. That's why many tomcats seem more playful when hunting, almost as if it were just a fun pastime. This can sometimes come across as cruel, but it's genetically programmed and serves to train their hunting skills and physical fitness. Female cats also often release half-dead prey, especially when they need to teach their young how to deliver the final blow to a captured animal. How much of this behavior a domesticated cat retains is, of course, not set in stone. There are tomcats who hunt with such precision it leaves you speechless, and there are queens who would much rather lie on the sofa than chase a mouse or even a toy mouse. Biology only sets the general tendency. A cat's individual personality and life experiences make up the rest. From hunting behavior, it's only a small step to territorial behavior. After all, where you hunt, you also need to claim anura. And this is where a clear difference appears. Tomcats tend to have much larger roaming ranges. They are the wanderers, eager to explore as much as possible. In nature, they need to reach as many females as they can, and for that, they travel long distances. Typically, this range is 1 to 3 kilometers. However, there are many documented cases of unneutered tomcats who were spotted over 10 kilometers away from their home while searching for a female in heat. Female cats, on the other hand, usually keep their territories smaller, but defend them much more intensively. Their territory is their safe space, the place where they could, in theory, raise their young. Many females seem to focus more on safety in a small area rather than expansion into the large and unknown. But again, a tomcat who has lived indoors since kittenhood will usually not develop an enormous territory later, even if he's allowed outside. The difference in territory size becomes even greater when sexual drive is eliminated through neutering. Not necessarily a bad thing, because territorial behavior inevitably leads to conflict. And here the differences between queens and tomcats become even clearer. Tomcats fight more often. They test themselves, measure their strength, usually not to cause serious injuries. It's almost like a ritual, a display of power, a way to settle hierarchy. But the instinct to fend off rivals runs deep within them. Queens are not necessarily more peaceful, just different. Their fights are rarer, but more purposeful. When they fight, it's usually to defend something. Not status, but their safety or the safety of their kittens. Mother cats, in particular, can develop a fierce protectiveness that you wouldn't expect from them otherwise. A queen's territory may be smaller, but if an intruder enters her protected zone, she will defend it aggressively and with absolute seriousness. In both cases, biology plays a major role, instincts that can never be completely switched off. And yet, it's clear that other factors can have a stronger impact than gender. A spayed house cat, raised safely by a breeder, will behave very differently from a cat that has spent half its life on the streets, fighting for every scrap of food, defending her kittens from stray dogs, or constantly having to mark and defend his territory in brutal confrontations. And what about their relationship with us humans? Here, a difference shows up that surprises many people. Even though tomcats are more often involved in outdoor conflicts, they are often considered the cuddle bugs indoors. Many of them actively seek closeness, curl up on laps, and press their heads against our arms and legs. Female cats, by comparison, often seem more independent. Some are affectionate, but they tend to keep stronger control over when and for how long. Perhaps this is an echo of their instinctive vigilance. Closeness, yes, but always on their terms, to avoid becoming dependent. Of course, this isn't a rule either. There are queens who become true shadows to their humans, following them everywhere, and tomcats who prefer to keep their distance and be alone. Still, the general trend is noticeable and frequently confirmed by cat owners. Things get even more interesting when multiple cats live together, because then these gender-based differences collide directly. Two tomcats can become the best of friends, full of energy and playful spirit. They chase each other around the house, wrestle in fun, and sleep side by side. But they can also become bitter rivals who never truly get along. Two queens, on the other hand, tend to be more strategic. Sometimes they form quiet alliances, sometimes they retreat and keep to themselves. This can create a calm harmony, or a passionate feud. And when a male and female cat live together, many consider this the perfect mix. Often it works well because each brings different strengths to the relationship. But there's no guarantee, because what matters most when choosing companions is whether their energy levels match. For example, if a tomcat constantly pushes boundaries in a rough and disrespectful way, and he encounters a queen who aggressively defends her safe spaces, that can lead to serious problems. On the other hand, if both are playful and enjoy wrestling, or if one is good at entertaining himself while the other is more laid back, it can work beautifully. This is why multi-cat households are always a bit of a mystery during the adjustment phase, regardless of gender. And yet, stereotypes persist. Tomcats are cuddlier. Queens are more headstrong, and sometimes that does fit. But just as often, you'll see the complete opposite. Perhaps this is because we humans tend to look for patterns too eagerly. We want to understand and categorize things, so we project certain personality traits onto an entire gender. But cats don't like to fit into simple explanations. Each one has a mind of their own. Instincts shape and influence many things: hunting, territory, closeness, conflicts. But in the end, it's always the individual that decides which of these instincts will be visible. For us, it often remains unnoticed whether gender or other factors from a cat's past and formative experiences play a greater role in shaping her behavior. That makes it almost impossible to establish absolute rules that apply universally and perfectly describe every tomcat and every queen. If you had to describe your own cat in just one sentence, what would that sentence be? Male and female cats are different enough that you can notice it in certain situations, but they are not so different that you could reliably predict their exact behavior. Nature gives them roles, the huntress and protector on one side, the wanderer and competitor on the other. But in our homes, these roles are reinterpreted. Sometimes the picture fits perfectly, and sometimes it completely falls apart. And, sadly, a cat herself can also break, something that is, unfortunately, not so rare in modern multi-cat households. Why that happens and what you can do about it is explained in the video you see displayed here. Just click on the image.